From the block to the boardroom, from the pulpit to the pew, the CQ podcast exists to help you raise your cultural fluency by discussing how culture touches everything from a Christian worldview. Just like a fish swims in water, we swim in culture. So today we're going to be swimming with KeJuan Robinson, ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about culture and the need for honest conversations. KeJuan, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. I'm excited. I've been talking to you a little bit about this podcast and this initiative for a while now. So I'm excited to see it come to fruition, getting to be a part of it from the jump. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Praise God, hallelujah. All right. So who are you, KeJuan?
Who am I?
Yeah, who are you? What you do? Why you here?
Yeah.
Let the people know.
Yeah, for sure. My name's KeJuan Robinson, and I am the Director of Ministry Operations at Grace City Church. And the Lord brought me to Grace City Church through a plethora of ways and reasons. But why am I here today and a part of this? I feel like the Lord has worked a ton in terms of my cultural development, and I've gotten to see what He has done through that. Really opening my own eyes, but then now utilizing the things that I have learned for the betterment of my ministry. So just being able to use that stuff, and then now getting to have conversations like this, being able to talk to people about what it looks like for them to, one, personally, culturally develop, but two, like be able to culturally engage with those that may be different than them. So yeah, I'm excited to get to be a part of it. I feel like cultural competency in general has become like a second nature to a certain degree. Like even just the framework and how I think about stuff, how I make decisions. So excited to get to be able to talk to some people about it today.
Absolutely. And in the last 6 months, you became a qualified administrator of the Intercultural Development Inventory too.
Yeah.
So,
which was a really cool opportunity, really just getting to understand like how we as humans engage with culture. I'm really getting away from the like positive negatives as it relates to that, and more so just thinking about, hey, we all got to start somewhere in this framework. And now being qualified with the IDI, saying, okay, now I can have these conversations in a more, I'd say, formal, organized manner, and even thinking about how can somebody grow and continue to move in that continuum. So I think it's been really cool just to be able to utilize that tool as well, because it's like you can engage with culture in different ways. You can definitely learn a lot through experience, but I think there's something about having a common language to be able to grow and see, okay, this is where I'm headed on my cultural journey. So
absolutely. And it's like, you get a chance to do debriefs with groups of people, we're talking through the framework, but then also sitting down with individuals and hearing their background with culture. When did they first intersect with understanding it for them? And negative experiences, positive experiences, and how to grow from there. So today, though, we getting a chance to talk about honest conversations and the need for it in the cultural space. One thing I found to be true is a lot of nonprofits, churches, Christians in general, leaders of organizations even, they would say they want their team ministry to be welcoming to people from all different backgrounds.
Right.
And if you said, hey, would you want your thing to be more diverse? The answer is almost assuredly yes.
Right.
But it's still segregated as the 1960s.
For sure. 1,000,000%.
And so really we want to talk about some of why that is, but then in some ways, how to have honest conversations about it. As we say it in CQ Initiative, is real talk for real growth.
Yeah.
How do we have real talk for real growth? And then what does it look like for individuals and people to start applying some of this in the world? And if I'm going to be honest, say why CQ exists.
Right. No, for sure.
To talk about honest conversations, I want to open up the Bible first. So Galatians 2, Paul is writing and he's opposing in this part of the letter, Peter, who's an apostle. And if we're talking about an honest conversation, this is about as honest as they come.
For sure.
And it's around culture and race. So he says in verse 11 of Galatians 2, when Cephas, that's Peter, came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face because he stood condemned. So there's the
standing on business from the jump.
So he clearly stood condemned, for before certain men came from James, he used to eat with Gentiles. So he used to eat with one people group. But when they arrived, he began to draw back and separate himself from Gentiles because he was afraid of those who belonged to the circumcision group. The other Jews joined him in his hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is contagious. So that by their hypocrisy, even Barnabas was led astray. And so Paul says, when I saw that they were not acting in line with the truth of the gospel, I said to Cephas in front of them all, you're a Jew, yet you live like a Gentile and not like a Jew. How is it then that you force Gentiles to follow Jewish customs? In short, and this isn't a whole moment for exegesis,
right?
But in short, Peter had been living with Gentiles, but when other people came along, he stepped back.
Right.
and he stopped living an integrated life. And so Paul opposed him to his face, is recounting that to the church of Galatia, and is telling them that, hey, when you don't live like what the gospel promotes, which is that it's for all people, when you don't live that way, you're not acting in line with the truth of the gospel. In other words, you're denying the gospel by your segregation. And to kind of begin even the conversation of like, why are we talking about this is a lot of people say they want it, but then don't actually live into it.
For sure.
So that's kind of, again, the framework for the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot of that's history, even thinking about where we are, like with Charleston, like we have to think about the ways that the enemy has had this like sort of stronghold on this type of racial division. And a lot of even to get to what Peter was doing, it's like this fear of man component of just like, okay, how do I actually engage with this? But in this moment, I feel like this is not honestly opportune for my reputation or what I need to do. So it's like we have to be willing to think about those things, be aware of that, and then like Paul did, be willing to step and confront others when we see this. Because I think it's super easy to just want to roll with the crowd. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
Like I don't want to like shake stuff up. Maybe I don't want to cause conflict. Maybe I don't want to like whatever it is, but being like, okay, it takes real talk. It takes real conversations. It takes real confrontation and be like, okay, how are we actually going to do this thing the way it's supposed to be done? So.
Yeah, and Galatians says it too in 1:10. He says, if I couldn't be a servant of Christ and be trying to please people at the same time.
Right.
And I think that is the nemesis in some ways of cultural honesty and of living really unified lives is this fear of man.
Yep.
Is like, hey, I don't want to rock the boat. My organization is already bringing in X amount of money.
Right.
My church already has this many members. The biggest donors are not going to support us if we start talking about this kind of thing. I know that's going to ruffle feathers. So let's just say we want diversity, but not fight for it.
Yeah.
But I would say there's a couple of core reasons why spaces aren't diverse.
Yeah.
You know, why we aren't actually cross-culturally competent. There's theological reasons, there's personal reasons, and there's historical reasons. But before we jump into that, I would love it if you took a minute and just talked about when you started to get exposed to like theology of justice, theology of culture, and started to believe in this, like, and kind of your background, what led you to really make this a part of your life?
Yeah, for sure. So I was in college a few years back, and I went to a predominantly white institution, and I was kind of, I would say, swimming in the culture that was presented in front of me, which was a lot of white culture, especially white evangelical culture. I wouldn't have been able to use that language then at all, but part of it was some survival techniques. Part of it was some baggage with my own cultural background, all this different stuff. So that was kind of just the waters I was swimming in. But then when stuff would happen really within our country that would cause some sort of tension around racial lines, I would be super conflicted, really, in terms of like, okay, I have these feelings and these emotions, but like, what am I actually how am I supposed to process this stuff? Who am I supposed to bring this stuff to? It feels like people have different opinions about all these different things. And it's like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. So in 2019 or so, I started kind of finding sermons on YouTube and like trying to figure out like, okay, this race thing means something, like, you know what I mean? And I just want to see what people have to say. And I feel like conversations around racial reconciliation were starting to kind of raise up in some of the conversations and circles that I was running in. So I started doing that, looking into it, really like exploring, okay, God, what do you say about this? And then got in contact with you throughout that process, which was very timely. But you even presented some theology around justice, which really was meaningful to me because I had never heard somebody really talking about God's justice in a way that was outside of a massive like cultural moment where it was like, oh, something happened, you know what I mean? So like we have to address it, or you know what I'm saying? Like we should address it,
right?
Or we want to address it, whichever. There can be good intentions there. But hearing somebody talk about, okay, this is what justice looks like. This is why God cares about it. I was like, wow, God really does have a heart for things that I think a lot of times people can think are removing power from the gospel and like will only cause more division to talk about them, like justice and race. When in actuality, like those are like key parts of who God is, and He wants us to honor our culture in that. So I think that's kind of when stuff kind of started stirring up, and through like working for the church that I've been at the last few years with you at Grace City, it's been more and more of a journey. Like I've said a bunch of stuff wrong at different times. I've had a bunch of opinions that really came more out of ignorance. Like I would say really different things that I would just hear in some of those circles that I was in.
Yeah.
Not even realizing that those circles did not have exposure to really have true like opinions and convictions around some of that culture related things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So through my journey here, it's been a real like wrestle. God made me a black man that has a complicated upbringing in terms of my family, my nuclear family. I have a white kind of spiritual family that like helped me in ton and like were able to pour into me, love on me as well. That made stuff like 2020 real complicated.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do I do with this? Like, what is culture? What does this make up? And I think through my journey, I've really realized that, okay, I had this posture of kind of and this is IDI language, but I had this posture of minimization as it related to my ethnic identity and my cultural identity. It's like I didn't really want to focus on the things that were different. You know what I mean? I was not really trying to get in conversations. It's kind of like the real talk. It's like I didn't really want to have the conversations that were centered around differences because I felt like that only led to more division, as some of my friends even did back then. So it was easy to kind of stay stuck on what I'd say is like commonality. It's like I can only relate to a certain extent. So let me try to hold on to that. And some of that honestly is like safety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I can't get hurt sometimes when it's like, okay, I'm just talking about the things that you know what I mean? That are the same. And like I think it's important. Now it's like, okay, wait, that is not what always happens when you like have conversations around difference.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that has helped me in terms of relating in culture and relation is a funny word, but really just saying, okay, I want to explore just to learn, just to grow, just to love, just to appreciate culture, rather than feel like I need to have some sort of like always connecting the dots with someone in order to be able to culturally relate. So, and then in terms of my own cultural background, I think the Lord has been very kind to kind of give me avenues to kind of grow in my cultural understanding. I think there's a lot of things that I kind of shut off at different times. So how am I supposed to, not really knowing how to grow in it? So I just put it away. I mean, I think these last couple of years particularly have been really impactful in terms of how I can actually move towards, even like as a black man, okay, how do I grow into my cultural identity? God made me this way. That means something. Rather than thinking it doesn't mean anything. So through some of the people that I've been able to work alongside, but honestly just do some life with, it's been really, really cool to see, okay, this is not just something that is like, you know, it's like, oh, like, okay, like this is this, but you know, I'm a Christian and that's what really matters the most. You know what I mean? Which is true, but it's like my identity as a black man, my identity as somebody that grew up in a poor socioeconomic status, my identity as, you know, all these different things. It's like all of those things inform and influence how a lot of these things play out and how they play out in relationships. So yeah, it's been an ongoing journey, and I feel like it's going to be ongoing. You know what I mean?
It's forever, bro.
Right. So, but it is cool to think about the stuff that the Lord has done so far. In that,
I love that. I appreciate you sharing that because I think that there's a couple of things I want to tease out, even from your story. The desire to minimize to go along, and I think a lot of times people of color in majority spaces, like they're operating that way, and majority group doesn't realize it.
Right.
So then the moment happens in the world and they're like, what have you changed?
Yeah.
And it's like really because there has been almost a go along to get along.
Correct.
Mindset that has happened. And so really to like have that curiosity to tease out, not just in the cultural crisis, but in the common moments.
Yeah.
To understand people from different backgrounds and have curiosity to understand diversity doesn't mean division. Like diversity doesn't mean bad.
Right.
Like we don't have to this is language all the time in spaces. We don't have to just overcome diversity.
Right.
Like a lot of times Christian unity can actually squash the God-given differences because we think by highlighting Jesus, we have to remove every kind of distinction rather than saying, no, that Jesus actually gives us the right lens for the differences that we have.
Yeah.
He gives us the right lens for our masculinity, femininity, for our ethnicity, for our personality, for our spiritual gifts. These are things that he doesn't remove from us when we come into Christ. These are things that he gives us, he redeems, or he directs in us.
Yeah.
But that also brings us, I think, to some of the why it's not this way. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of spaces are not integrated is just because there is a theological deficit around culture.
Yep.
Like people have not asked the Bible and God through it, what does it say about culture.
Mhm.
So people kind of just have random views about culture that come from the world
Yep.
rather than going, does the Bible talk about it?
Mhm.
And I remember when I first got a theology of culture, it was transformative. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, yeah, humans create culture, but God created humans to create culture.
Right.
And the way John Frame says it, who's a Christian ethicist, he says humans make culture, but God makes creation, humans make culture, but because God is sovereign, God makes culture through humans.
Right.
And even in Genesis, if you think about it, it's that at the beginning, God makes the tree,
Right.
humans make the canoe.
Right.
God puts humans in the garden, but he tells them to cultivate it.
Yep.
So he puts potential in the garden, and then God tells people, he leaves it untended,
Yep.
except by people to tend it and to make something. Or you even think about the immaterial parts of culture where God told Adam to name the animals.
Yeah.
So like God made animals, but he didn't give them a name.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he said, Adam, you name them.
Right.
So then Adam's like, giraffe.
Right.
And like God, no, for real, like God said, in your creativity,
Yeah.
you have the authority
Yep.
to name them, and that's how I want my will to be expressed in the world.
Yep.
And so it's like culture is innately good,
Right.
and I think if we start viewing it that way, we relate to it very differently. Now, theologically, redemptive historical timeline, there's a fall,
Right.
everything is jacked
For sure,
up, so
for
all
sure.
culture is tainted with sin.
Mm-hmm.
But to just run from it actually misses out the fact that God actually, his plan was always for us to make culture, and you also can't even get outside of it.
Yeah.
Like English is culture.
Right.
Like you can't speak the language without culture.
Yeah.
Like I can't put any clothes on that aren't culture.
Yeah.
Like I literally can't do anything without it.
Right.
The Bible has a culture. Greco-Roman culture.
Yeah.
Hebrew culture.
Yeah.
So it's like if we don't learn how to have a robust theology of it, we make a lot of fallacies and errors. So that's one thing too. I'm really hoping people get is like, let me not formulate opinions without first asking God what he said.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's good too, because even like the word culture, I feel like in different circles that I've been in has been like this bad word to a certain degree.
Yeah, bro.
It's like people utilize the word culture like when they're talking about the world or when they're talking about sin. It's like I think some people hear culture and they're like, ooh, like, oh, you know what they're doing in the culture, like all this stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? All of these negative connotations that can really like push some people off because it's like, wait, no, we're doing something like culture. That's the world. Like, you know what I mean? But I think it's so good to really reflect on, okay, God created us to create culture, and God works within cultures all the time. It's like we would be like to say, okay, I'm gonna remove myself from culture would be honestly to say I'm gonna disobey like what we're supposed to do as believers on this side. You know what I'm saying? Because we're trying to, in order for us to understand and have an ability to engage, we have to say that it exists. You know what I'm saying? It's like how are we supposed to take a step into it if it's like, okay, this is something that's bad and we can't touch.
Yeah.
When it's like God touch culture was working within it and he's still doing that today. And we have a key part in that.
Yeah, it's like the What Would Jesus Do bracelets. What did he do? He put on flesh.
Right.
and came into the earth.
Yeah.
He literally wrapped himself in culture.
Right.
And it's like, and he lived in it in a Palestinian, Middle Eastern, time period. So like for us to be like Jesus, we have to be in culture. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not bad parts of culture, parts of culture we don't reject, but I think that's an important framework. But we were talking about it too. There's also there's some theological work that needs to be done, but there is also personal work that needs to be done.
Yep.
Like I think most people aren't willing to pay a cost to actually live an integrated life. They're not willing to pay the cost to go say, hey, like your business or whatever wants to reach this people group or wants to serve this people group well.
Yep.
Well, a lot of people aren't willing to pay the cost to understand and then make the changes internally to do it.
Right.
Or you just take people who, I think who like have aspects of diversity or say they like diversity.
Yeah.
But then don't pay the cost in their personal lives.
Oh,
like
for
their dinner tables, their life
yeah.
are not at all integrated because they have one type of way they like to live.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts are around that of
Yeah.
cost, people not willing to pay it, choosing comfort over this kind of thing.
Yeah, man. I feel like one, yeah, you hit it on it. The last thing you just said is like there's an addiction to comfort, and it's like there's something that we want to cling on to, just kind of knowing it's like, oh, like I can kind of predict my environment in some ways or what's going to happen if there's more commonalities in place. like if I've been doing life with these people for a long time,
Right.
and all it's like, oh, it's too risky to try to disrupt that comfort.
Mm.
So I think people wouldn't will say and have like wishes, you know what I mean, for this diversity and for this unity in their life. But when the costs start to come up, so the cost is being able to be willing to say something wrong, and then like
Mm.
you actually might make somebody mad.
Yeah.
There are some people that are like, no, I'm not even trying to risk that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like some of that fear of man stuff we talked about already, but it's like there's an inability to be wrong, I think, and hurt someone
Mm.
to where it's like, oh, like I can't even take steps towards that, and I don't even know how to. Also think like it takes work to not be ignorant. You know
It
what I mean?
does.
Like it's
Yeah,
like
such a good word,
like
bro.
you you don't just come upon information. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like or relationship. Like it's like you have to take it takes real work and time. And I
Mhm.
think time is a cost to a lot of people. They're like, man, it's like I already have my family or my business or the friends that I'm already trying to talk to or whatever, and I have all these different things. It's like, where am I going to find the time to
Yeah.
do this? But you put time into the things that you want to invest in,
Yeah.
and if you're gonna proclaim that you want to experience and look at the manifold wisdom of God and really be like, let me lean into that through His people, through His diverse people. It's like you're gonna have to say, okay, I got time. It's gonna cost me. It's gonna cost me that.
Yeah.
And then for some people, honestly, it costs them money.
It
Like you
does.
think about this for businesses and organizations. Like you mentioned it earlier with churches, but it's like there is a cost, a literal cost to like presenting this message out
Mhm.
because of historical things, because of spiritual things, all the different things we've talked about and mentioned. But it's like you have to be willing. Hey, like because I believe that the word is true, because I believe that God is sovereign and right and good, and this diversity is an expression of that. Like it's gonna be okay for me to lose a little bit,
Yeah.
whether it be time, whether it be financial, whether it be um, friends, even like relational stuff. Like doing this work ain't gonna make a bunch of people like you.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like this is gonna open you up to a type of conflict that I think is good for us.
Yes.
Like there's something about the difference because it's like the Bible doesn't say just love everybody that thinks the same way and has
Facts,
done all the
bro.
same thing, grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same
Yeah.
schools. Like it's like that's not what we're supposed to do. Like
Yeah.
it's like we're supposed to actually um, pursue this difference in a way that knows that conflict is actually going to present itself, not to then eject and get out of it, but more
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, how am I actually going to love you, regardless on if we disagree on some of these things, and like even just have different experiences. So there's a lot of costs that I think people aren't even willing to name because
Mm.
they don't want to seem like embarrassed or have shame about it.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we gotta do. We gotta do that. Like it's
Gotta
like we
do it.
gotta start with naming the costs. Like what is this actually going to cost you to pursue this? And I think once you name it, acknowledge it, and say, okay, now that I know that this is true, what am I going to do about that?
Yeah, I like it, man. You said money it does cost money. It can cost relationships. You can
Mhm.
lose relationships by being in this work.
Yeah.
We always say as a church, being misunderstood is not a good reason to not do something good. You're
Right.
misunderstood constantly
For sure.
in diverse spaces. Constantly you're misunderstood. Um, and I think ultimately there is a sense of self that feels like in doing this work, could I lose it?
Yeah.
And people don't really acknowledge, I think a lot of times that's true in a majority perspective, but it's a true of a minority perspective. Like
Yeah.
there can be to commit to go, hey, like I could go to a black church or a white church or be a part of this white organization. A lot of times it's not like, oh, there is a cost
Right.
that you're paying to do it.
Hmm.
Like take some of the history of why it is. Like some people's like, oh, there's black churches and there's white churches. Why? Well, because we have different worship styles. It's like, no. That's
Right. Right.
like yes, that's true, but that is not why. Like
Yeah.
why? Well, there were churches that were more integrated. You take Absalom Jones and Richard Allen's and Philadelphia when they were in an integrated church, St. George, worshiping an integrated space. Then the church built the balcony and said all the black people got to worship in the balcony now.
Mm.
They then go. There was the next Sunday. They come to kneel and pray at the spot they had always kneeled and prayed, but the trustees and the ushers say, "Not today.
Mm.
You got to go to the balcony."
Yeah.
Pull them out, completely strip them of their dignity.
Right.
Say now you got to be in the peanut gallery.
Mm.
This is where you got to go. So then they get basically removed from the church, and that's how the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the AME Church, is all over Charleston.
Yeah.
That's how this thing gets founded.
Yeah.
Is because Richard Allen goes and he's the first bishop of that church. He starts another one where there can be a place where they can worship freely without being segregated in a Christian space.
Right.
So it's like segregation has always been an aspect of our churches and our denominations,
Yep.
and it's historical.
Yeah.
And so to overcome that is incredibly difficult. And so for a Black person in Charleston to say, I'm not going to worship in a place where actually I could be the majority today.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to worship at a multi-ethnic church or a predominantly white church. That's a cost.
For sure.
And so you have to, there's got to be a belief in this work
Mm-hmm.
to pay a cost on both sides. Or for a white person, here's what's crazy though, more to Black people, let's just be real talk, more to Black people pay the cost than to white people.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's way more Black people who come to white churches than white people who go to Black churches.
Oh, for sure.
You know, we worship some Black churches, you gonna see 2 white people. You know, maybe.
For sure. For sure.
Because it, you know, again, some Black people have, like, they're more used to certain white spaces as well. But it's like if our white brothers and sisters do is say, hey, I'm gonna work from the other side. I'm not just gonna be at this white church and try to help this church. I'm gonna help this Black church be more diverse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And be willing to pay the cost. But like that's at church, but also in your life.
Right.
Like, am I willing to go to a Black barbershop?
Yeah.
As a white person.
Right.
And I don't know how they're gonna relate to me.
At all.
You know, it's like, am I willing to pay the cost?
Yeah.
To fulfill what the Bible says. Because, like, again, go make disciples of all nations, Matthew 28. We love this verse, and we will apply it, the heck out of it,
to the
as we get to the ends of the earth, but not to our neighbor, who looks different than us. We will not apply it there. We will not pay a cost there. And you go, how are we going to be faithful to the scriptures when the nations are here, but our churches are of one race?
Yeah.
And our churches are in neighborhoods that are not of one race. So
talk about that.
It really is. It's like, I think sometimes we just got to go, okay, like, this is the state of things, but what does it look like for us to move forward? Like there is lament, there's confession, corporate confession, communal confession too. Owning things is important, but then also, what does it look like to move forward? And that's part of what we want to do with the CQ initiative. Yeah, is to say, this is where things are, but they don't have to be this way.
Yeah. And I think that's so helpful in what this will be for different organizations, churches, whoever would hear this, is that there are steps. Because I know there's so many good Christian folks out there, you know what I mean, that are trying. They're trying.
It's true.
They're like, or at least they think they're trying. It's probably the better word. True. But it's like, I don't know the steps. But it's like, there's not a whole bunch on this stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how we can actually go and do it. So I'm excited and hopeful too for what we can actually, like, help and, like, get to see, like, the movement in which God has been doing here and what we've been able to do, and seeing, okay, there is a way forward, but there is, like you said, acknowledging the cost in that as well.
Yeah, but there is a way forward. And I think with CQ, you know, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to have podcasts.
Yeah.
So we can be interviewing different people. KeJuan's going to be on here a good amount though. And it's, and just to get a chance to have real talk for real growth, to be able to say, what does this look like to cultivate the conversation? Yeah. In a way that is explicitly Christian. We're going to come at it from a Christian worldview, from a biblical worldview, but we're going to talk about different topics. And what does it look like for us to have these conversations from a Christian worldview, to not do stuff from a different world, but to say, what does the scriptures got to say about this? And what does it mean to live into what God calls us to do? So to have honest conversations with various people in a way that we hope helps people as we drip it out into the world. We're also going to have insights and blogs. Yeah. So I'm really excited about this, to have some writing that can do similar things from different people talking about different subjects. Like, what's it look like to be a white mom and try to cultivate my kids towards these things? Yeah. And how do I think about that? Or what does it look like as it relates to creation care? What is it, you know, what do all these things do that I hope can be targeted and practical to really help go, okay, what are some practical steps I can take? What are some calls to action? What are some ways I can actually move the needle, even if it's little by little? Yeah. And then lastly, we'll do consulting. And I'm very excited about consulting. Yeah. It looks like coming to different churches, faith-based institutions, nonprofits, and spending time with leaders of the organization to do evaluations of cultural competency, using the IDI, Intercultural Development Inventory, to say, okay, where are you? Taking some surveys, where are you? But then to help teach a theology of culture. Yeah. To where okay, what does God really say? And not just unity and racial reconciliation. Now that's an aspect of it that's important,
Yeah.
but of culture, which
Right.
actually transcends all of it. I can't even tell you how helpful it is to go from Genesis to Revelation. What does the Bible say about how do God's people relate to culture in time?
Yeah.
So were they rejecting it
Mm-hmm.
or were they embracing it?
Yeah.
And sometimes they rejected it
Right.
and sometimes they embraced it, but all the embracing wasn't bad. I still remember God telling like there's a time God was like, "Hey, this nation, they're the best timber workers.
Mm.
So as we build the temple, you got to go get it from them.
Right.
So you actually go to the non-Christian source because they do it better than the Christians do.
Yeah.
And they were Israelites, but you get my point.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
Yahweh
Yeah.
worshipers.
Yeah. For
so
sure.
so how do you do that theology, but also some practical skills to be able to go, okay, what are your struggles? But like, what are some tools you can use to develop just capacity to interact with different cultural groups?
Yeah.
And then lastly, hopefully help them set some goals. There's 3 phases. It's evaluation, there is teaching and equipping, and then there's goal setting and helping integrate cultural competency into the workplace or into the church or into the nonprofit to hopefully be able to help you move forward. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about what the Lord will do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's so cool to even think about what that can do for somebody's workplace, like to
Mm.
be able to actually have this understanding of culture in a way that just is like not the norm to talk about it, but being able to see the way that God has gifted people with their experiences, the ways He's blessed them with their culture, and like how that actually can influence and inform the organization. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
it's not just something that it is cool to be able to personally relate, and we want to do that. And
Yeah.
there's also something about, okay, God has uniquely put this person with this cultural experience on this team. God has
Mm.
put this person on this in this position with this cultural experience. It's like that actually will create a system that will actually make us flourish
Facts, bro.
in a way that is honestly unattainable without it. You don't
Yes.
even know what you can do.
Man, that's
Like,
so good.
so I think that's a really cool thing that I'm excited to see.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's key, man. Using the gifts and the people that God has given you,
yeah.
but not and going, the Lord has made us a team, but not just for our commonality.
Hmm.
How do we leverage the differences amongst us?
Yeah.
Man, that's so good.
Yeah.
So anyways, we hope that everybody would like come along,
For
like
sure.
share everything, follow everything, subscribe to everything. I'm really hoping the Lord's going to do some stuff.
Yeah. Me
Yeah.
too, man.
All right, brother. Well, appreciate you, the
Yeah, bro.
time and the story. That's what's up.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I'm excited.